Every one of my records means something. The label, the producer, the year it was made.
You talk Bela Fleck and the Flecktones.
So
what's the story there? How'd you come across those characters?
I don't remember. I feel
isn't that crazy? God,
I feel like I was. This had to be. This was just a random night. I was probably just surfing YouTube, and I like bass, like obviously. And I remember I think one night I was looking up like bass, like guitar virtuosos and like people who were playing like System of a Down songs on an acoustic guitar, like just really impressive feats of instrumentation. And then in the feed, in the YouTube feed, one of the suggested videos was Victor Wooten. And if you don't know who Victor Wooten is, he's like a Grammy award winning with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. He won a bunch of Grammys with them. Like, he's an amazing, amazing bass player. So I said, okay, like what kind of band is this guy in? And I'm really surprised that I got into Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, because what I did was I looked what bands Victor Wooten's in, and of course with all the Grammys they won for like contemporary jazz, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones was up there. Mm-hmm. And at the time, again, YouTube binge. What the first thing I did was search Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, and the album a live DVD they made in 2002 was ripped and put on YouTube. It was called Live at the Quick, and Bela Fleck is like another renowned musician, like one of the best banjo players in the world. And I said, and then I looked, and it was classified under jazz because I was doing my research. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I played this music, and I was this is, in fact, this is probably like if I had to like play something, if I died, if I had to give one, I totally forgot to mention this. And if I died and like I said, what music does Jake like would leave? This would be it. And it's because like
wow.
Because there's no words in it.
There's no words on it.
It's all instrumentals, which is amazing. But what's cool about this is there's so many people, there's so many musicians that he brought together. That's what made Bela Fleck so cool. He brought musicians of all, like, so many different cultures, like Tuvan throat singers and guys from India who play the the island doom da doom da doom, those kind of drums, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have like steel drums, like Little Mermaid style steel drums, all in the same band.
I'm thinking hot.
Oh yeah, I'm rambling here, but like
no.
Long story short, I was absolutely just blown away, and I was like, this is what music means. Like, these people who don't, like, they might not even been able to speak the same language, but you could just see the way they interact with each other. They're communicating. To me, like, that's, at least for jazz, I think we had this discussion last time, there's a difference between jazz, it's more personal between artists, whereas a lot of rock and roll's like putting on a show. Like, I was like, wow, like, these people didn't just put on a show, they spoke like a common language, and that's why this like just blew me away. Like, it's just amazing. But yeah, I saw it on Discogs, and I've been looking for it for a long time because it's such an old DVD, and I found it and I picked it up. So we got that to look forward to.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a different, that's one of the things, Kyle of the Record Night podcast he kind of introduced me to a lot of different weirder, I just saw far more skilled musicians. Like, there's so many like really, really highly skilled musicians that are not like in common, I don't know, that they're not, it's not popular, like really wildly talented acoustic guitar players and stuff like that. It's a different thing. No lyrics usually, just instrumentals.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm excited to see that DVD you're talking about, because a lot of times, like, live on stage, like you said, you can kind of see. I've always thought that has to be such a cool experience when you're a musician on that level and they're like up there playing and they're just impressed by one another, and you can see like that they're sharing that, you know, on stage. It's very cool. It's a lot different than anything we've listened to thus far. So
that's such a good point, because like we'll see it, but I don't want to give too much away. But like you said, impress with one another. Like it's almost like the one guy starts playing and the whole band, all their attention turns. There's like 7 or 8 people up on stage, each a master musician. That's what makes it, because Bela Fleck and the Flecktones is only it's Bela, Victor, Future Man, and it was Jeff Coffin, saxophone player, he plays now for Dave Matthews Band.
Oh wow!
He left when their saxophone player died. He's who took over. He left Flecktones and went to Dave Matthews Band. But this is their big band. They had an idea. They did an album with just the 4 of them, with featured guests on the album, like features. And they asked all their features to come do a tour with them, and Live at the Quick was made. So it's absolutely amazing.
Again, Bela Fleck is here. You are a world-renowned banjo player. You're a very innovative band leader.
This is such my music.
Is he like, is this a scatting? Like they call it scatting?
Yeah, he's like scatting what he's playing.
Yeah.
He's awesome too. He's fucking amazing. He shreds on this banjo.
It doesn't even like really sound like a banjo. It sounds like a guitar.
It's electric banjo.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh, here's your
Steel pans.
Little Mermaid style. Yeah.
It's cool though.
What's going on back here? What do we got going on here?
That's an oboe, or no, it's a bassoon.
Bassoon. Okay.
Bass bassoon. The best kind of bassoon.
Jake's next instrument he's gonna learn. Kind of Zoom call it, but I got.
I hope he doesn't even get up. Somebody just like comes and pulls him like off the stage.
I just flies away.
Meditates away.
Our magic carpet ride.
Yeah, this is a big lead into that song.
Now back to Seinfeld.
Yeah, we definitely got funk here.
Funk here.
Nice.
Now Jake will now demonstrate how that last sound was done on his bass. Cut to a clip.
Yeah, that was the high. I feel like if it was a wrestling show, it was like that was the best match so far. You know, like.
Oh, so that guy doesn't just wear yellow pants? He wears like regular jeans and.
Not everybody gets to see this. Are you ready?
Would you ever do a Record Night podcast with the yellow
Oh,
pants?
dude, I bought my yellow pants just for the Record Night.
Conga roll andar.
And, oh my goodness!
Whoa! Wait a minute, Jake! What the hell is happening here?
Now let's try playing 2 guys on one banjo. And, you know, not saying anything about all the hot licks we played or all the music we'd written, but man, you guys, when you did the 2 on 1 banjo, you know.
It looks like like a Sesame Street bit or something.
I ask you guys to stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to ask you guys to stop.
Uncle Roll can play the banjo. Can't think of anything that rhymes with banjo.
So, boys, what do we think?
Okay. Well, got some like various notes, but overall, it was amazing. I mean, it was a different show than it was. It's kind of what I said before. It's just this is different.
Yeah.
Not your normal record night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have overall highlights? Because I have, like I said, like sparing notes, but
I think my favorite song was there was this crazy saxophone solo in it. I forget what Moment So Close, the first one where there's actual lyrics. Like the guy singing, like that's my favorite song in the album, just because you get that funk in the beginning, that dum 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 dum, and then you get that's the one with like the broadest inclusion of all the artists, like because there's some where certain artists sit out, but that's got like
Everyone.
and it's just
I guess
the best song.
the throat
easily.
singer. The throat singer guys in that too.
Yeah, that's the one with the throat singer.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because him and the guy, our future man, are going back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But like, it's interesting. The tube and throat singer, like when I first heard this, like threw me for a loop.
yeah.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then like you hear it in context with the music, and you're like, okay.
That's what Collin and I were just saying.
Like, I
Like
get
him
it.
alone is kind of funny with his getup and his, but with the music, it sounds really cool.
And especially when he hits that like in the middle of the song, when he hits that lower octave. So at first you only hear like him singing high.
Yeah.
And then he hits this real weird one where it's like a bass note plus a high one. You're like,
Yeah, it's
whoa. Never seen this shit before. Yeah. Well, did you know, like, I saw on YouTube, like, the guy who wrote Big Ol' Jet or Liner, like, the original guy.
Yeah.
The original blues musician. I think it's a single guy who wrote that, and then it was covered by
the Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller Band. But,
Yeah.
like,
Good song.
he's famous. He, like, traveled to Tuva to, like, sing with. That guy who wrote that song was, like, a blind guy. And he was, like, able to throat sing just like him. So there's, like, videos on YouTube of him and Congar, like, throat singing together, which was funny. And he's got, like, a bass voice. Like, if you thought Congar hit a bass note, like, that guy who wrote that song is, like, hitting, like, low B notes and shit. So it's just weird. But it's a really cool... It's charming in a lot of ways. It's kind of reminded me of, like, the only other, like, artist that has charmed me is, like, soul singer, Charles Bradley. Like, this is a very charming presentation. I was charmed by Charles Bradley as well. So, for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was well produced, like a well put together show. Like,
Yes.
in terms of like they gave kind of everybody their spot to shine. Certainly, if they didn't get their own song, like certainly like an extended part of a
Sure.
song.
Sure. What did you think, Joe?
I was real impressed with like a couple of the people, like the guy in the steel
Yeah, steel pans.
steel pans was really cool. I never knew that's how like I've heard that instrument before,
But you don't know where it comes
never
from.
knew like that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And that's how it was done. So that was really cool to see. That bass player is fucking amazing.
Yeah, Victor.
He's awesome.
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
cool.
was
His
crazy.
solo in the middle.
He
Where
was
he's
just
playing it with all harmonics. Like, if you
the
look,
Amazing Grace.
if you looked, he wasn't like fretting, like in the middle. Like at first, he was fretting the notes, like pressing the string down. But there's something called harmonics, where you just touch the string above a certain point. So he had to memorize, and it's not like what you think. When you play a fretted note, it's like it goes up the scale as you would expect. But like you could hit here with a harmonic and then hit further up the string, but it'll play like a lower note or something. Like it's weird. It doesn't follow the same rules. So I think the first guy who like just did that was like Jaco Pastorius, which was like one of Victor's like idols. and he was the first one who really introduced harmonics into like music.
That's the
Like
runner
bass
with the 2 legs, the guy with no legs, the guy who shit.
No,
Pistorius?
no.
That guy?
Yeah. What would you say? What was it?
What was that guy's name?
Oscar Pistorius.
Oscar Pistorius, yeah.
Maybe they're related. I don't know. But like, you have to memorize, like really memorize where all those positions are, like where the harmonics, what position on the neck plays what note, just randomly. You have to. It's almost like its own really special scale. But the fact that he played a lot of that song like with harmonics alone, and then at the end where he like tunes up the guitar. That was, I thought that was really cool.
He tunes it down, right, to get the fade out.
He tunes a string to like, doo.
Yeah.
He did.
So he's tuning it up.
Yeah, he tunes it up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he was doing that a few times, like either ahead of, like at the end, he tuned
Yeah,
it up
he's
to
reaching
get-
really quick.
Getting it ready for the next.
And I don't know if
Yeah.
that was because he was trying to adjust it because the harmonics need a certain kind of adjustment because there's such a weird way to play, or
Yeah.
because he actually just thought his guitar was out of tune. Like just
I think it all
turn
has
on the
a-
fly. Boop.
Yeah, no,
Done.
I think it all has like some type of significance, like
Well, that's
for the next note that he needed, he was changing it up.
in those Liedwin Sklar videos. That bass player, he was talking about playing a 5-string versus a 4-string. Like, well, instead of like tuning the guitar, I'll just play the 5. You know, he was. I think that had something to do with it too. Like,
Yeah, that was sick. But he played that one on a 4-string though. That one with all the
yeah,
harmonics
yeah,
on a
yeah, right,
4-string. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and then I like Bela Fleck better on just a normal banjo than the electric one.
Yeah.
Like I'm interested to see like what he can do with like just traditional bluegrass.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard any
Right.
of his traditional bluegrass
Just
stuff. But I'm
yeah,
sure
just
it's
straight
incredible.
traditional bluegrass. I think would be really cool because that's kind of what I'm into now. Is like I've been watching that Sturgill Simpson live thing he did a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And it's like all these bluegrass musicians, and it's just like bluegrass music is so good. It's so like Americana, like just American music. It's great
Yeah, that's why it's interesting to meld into this.
Yeah.
fusion.
One of the,
Yeah.
that fusion's like a good word because it's like, what did you guys think about? Like, were you surprised at any of the song transitions? Because when I first heard this, I was like, wow, like you hear this bluegrass beat coming on, all of a sudden like jazz gets infused into it, and you're like, wow, like it's interesting they approach it at that angle. Like I'm always blown away like when you hear a different musical style kind of get inserted into another one.
Yeah,
like
like
they
when-
come on the right note, just the perfect note to get in there. You know,
Like
what I mean?
I was surprised how the horns, the percussion
Yeah.
instruments played in with the banjo and the drums and stuff like that. Like how they
It's kind of offbeat a little bit.
yeah, it's
Behind a little bit.
yeah. I don't know how it works, but somehow it works. I don't know. I feel like those are two separate music, like separate, and then they just like brought it together. Oh, and then how Bela Fleck was doing the Bach thing on the banjo was crazy. That's so crazy.
To
That's
memorize,
a violin.
He didn't even have sheet music. Like I was like, how did you memorize that without sheet music?
That's
He just
so
memorized all that.
That's so nuts.
I said, what the fuck? That sounds like a 5-minute piece.
Yeah, that was
6 minutes.
He went on for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he had impressive parts in the show before that, but that was when that's when I thought like well produced. Like now it gave you a chance to appreciate like this dude's like
his
Yeah,
introduction.
he's already
everybody
kind of shown that, but now like whoa.
everybody
Yeah.
got some shine in the
Yeah.
I love when
even Future Man gets like his little
his little
thing.
piece.
Yep.
He was doing some nuts things too, where he was doing one thing with one hand, he was playing that one thing with another hand, and then his foot was doing the
On the
bass
bass
with the
pedal.
bass. He was
Yeah.
doing 3 different things at once. It's nuts.
And then but then he also had the synth thing that like played the
Oh, yeah, his
so
little
he would
samples
like
and
on the,
stuff.
just on the right point he would hit the synth
Yeah.
and keep playing, and then hit the synth and keep playing.
Crazy.
He's really cool.
Dude, watching him, that part made me think of in that Skrillex song, there's that Jim Morrison quote where he's like,
the new generation's music will be, it'll have a synthesis of those two elements and some third thing that'll be entire. Maybe it'll be, it might rely heavily on electronics, tapes. I can kind of envision maybe one person with a lot of machines, tapes, and electronic setups singing or speaking and using machines.
Yeah, that's a really cool. Yeah, that's because that quote was like in the '60s.
And that's why it's cool too. Is he's called Future Man, and like in that
He's
context,
from the future.
yeah, like in the context of that Jim Morrison, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing like it.
Right.
There's nothing like it. Which is almost a shame. Like, you would hope there was more.
Well, I was looking
fusion
up like
types of bands.
related artists to.
Did you find anything interesting?
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are related to it, but I mean, I haven't. Now, after listening to this, I'll listen to those to see if it's similar. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could be right. I mean, they could be the only people that are actually doing it. But I feel like since this came out when in the 2000s,
Yeah, this was like
90s,
2001, 2002.
that someone today was influenced by this type of music, and they maybe not are doing exactly the way they were doing it, but they were influenced by it somehow, and they incorporated those instruments and those kind of sounds into like their own music.
Definitely the one with, I don't know if it was the first one with lyrics, but there was one that I thought, oh, this it's different, but it sounds a lot like Gorillaz. You know what I mean? Like,
Which, it was only one with lyrics. There was just one. That's it. And that was the one with like, everywhere you go, it's a moment so close.
Okay.
It was that one.
yeah.
Yeah, that definitely.
Yeah,
I can
see
get that
it.
vibe. Yeah.
The instrumentation's different, but just in the creative use of like weird instruments and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus the like hip hoppy kind of.
Have you looked into the steel pan guy? Like,
I haven't. No.
oh, he was awesome. He was my favorite guy. The steel
Yes,
pan.
he had an early I think his positioning in like the track listing, like for this, because he was saying like we change it up every show, like not
Right.
shows the same. So like in this one, he played that like really quiet. Like it almost led you in, because if you notice, like I feel like this track list was really good because it kind of like lulls you. Like the first tracks are these really like, like really like quiet tracks, and then we get to the end where like Future Man's just going crazy and Bela's like full speed on the banjo, like all this type of shit. So
Playing with the drummer, the guy from India.
oh yeah,
or
the
whatever.
tabla guy, that was cool. Yeah.
It's crazy how fast that guy's wrist goes.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
He must like be like double jointed or something, or something.
He's just incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah, and he's actually a music teacher. I'm pretty sure. Like he teaches a lot of people, and he's like, again, like I said, like he's pretty renowned throughout India as like one of the best tabla artists. And then you have like, there's a lot of tuba and throat singers in tuba where Ongar, what was his name, Ongar Collin or something like that comes from. He's in a band too. Like that's a tradition. Where they come from, to be able to sing like that. And they're also like, I think I read like they practice like lucid dreaming, so being in control of your dreams, basically.
Yeah, I've heard of that too.
Practice that somehow. So it's just
it's a form of like meditation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I've looked into that. I can't.
So okay, so you're supposed to like knock on doorways and stuff when you walk through them. That's how you like. So that way, like, so like
you know it's you, yeah.
So if you go through a doorway, yeah, you like knock on it, and then like if you go through a doorway in your dream, I guess that I don't know that helps you realize it's a dream. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
I've never done it myself, but that's what I've heard.
No.
Maybe that's with the tube instrument.
I mean, I've attempted like meditation and stuff, but I haven't gone that far. I was trying to do like, there's a type of meditation where you start like hallucinating, but I can never get to that point. It takes like a lot of years of practice and. Where you could start seeing shit as you,
but yeah, I just
aren't thinking of anything.
Like I said about
crazy,
yeah.
Like how you just have those different. You almost have that Western banjo sound, and all of a sudden this Eastern element that I don't think as Americans we're used to gets inserted into it.
West meets East,
and I think it was just interesting, like hearing that communication, because we're always thinking like, oh, that's so different. I could never listen to that, and yet you hear them on like starting and ending on the same note, like. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem so foreign anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like human expression. It's not.
Yeah, but I mean, when you break down music to its simplest form, it all comes down to notes and scales.
Yeah, musical theory.
Yeah,
yep.
It's just we think of banjo music as American music or Western music, and then we think like that kind of music is Western music, and we don't think how can those coexist?
Yeah,
but they can because it comes down to
the
same notes, the same scales.
Yep.
It just comes down to that.
I definitely, like, in the beginning, I noticed, like, to me it was like a jazz influence because it was, like, very chaotic sounding.
Yeah.
Like I liked it all, but, like, everybody kind of had, like, more free reign, I feel like.
Everyone gets their own part.
In traditional, yeah.
It was more cohesive as a musical piece toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree with that. It was definitely more jazz influence in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you get that. Like, there was even a couple pieces toward the end that were definitely Eastern in nature, like the entirety of the song. Like, I feel like in the beginning you have that mix, and then towards the end you have more themed music.
Where would you say those steel drums come from? Like the islands, kind of, like Caribbean kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought that was super cool.
When Jake brought it up during the preview, I was, hot. That's what it makes me think of.
Yeah,
Super
but
cool.
again, that's another instrument where I was thinking while it was playing, like, wow, it's crazy how it works, because it's jazz, and he's playing a bluegrass song, but yet he's going like, and it just works. And it's cool how they insert it, but it's not like they're taking their music and they're trying to make it fit. Like, it's authentic in the way it's played.
Yeah.
It's like they haven't.
Everyone is cohesive. Everyone is connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a couple of really cool parts where they were like trading, like, and then they would do it together.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, the bass and the tabla was really cool.
They had the banjo and the tabla. They had bass and saxophone. I think there was one with banjo and steel pans had one.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I was saying, like, a lot of this jazz music, like I said, is like based on communication, and I think that was. It's not a piece to be presented. It's a way of speaking to one another, and I think that's part of what makes the music great.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about jazz music. It's like a conversation. It's like its own language.
Yeah.
You know, where the instruments kind of speak to each other, and but no words are needed.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of jazz songs don't have vocals. Mm-hmm. It's just all instrumental.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never really understood it because I haven't really listened to it. I do have that Miles Davis record, which is what's it called? Blue, whatever it's called. It's like considered like the best jazz record ever.
Yeah.
So I can picture the cover of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just him with a trumpet.
But I'll end up.
Is that what he played? Trumpet.
I'll end up bringing that.
I think so. Perhaps a more specific. Like Chuck Mangione, for example, is a flugelhorn player, I believe. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know, but I felt like the crowd, the way the show was, obviously, like they
Kind of Blue. That's what it's called.
Okay. The way everybody got their spot to shine, like the crowd would applaud at different parts. But I thought the bass seemed to get the biggest pop.
Oh yeah, people love Vic.
Not surprisingly,
people love Vic. Yeah.
The drummer got a big pop too.
Oh, the steel drum. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. The
steel
Future Man dude.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think what's interesting is you talk about like chaotic. Like a lot of his stuff seems chaotic, like when he's playing it. But like like I said, I watch a bunch of interviews of like about his musical journey through his life, and he's not
Future Man.
Yeah, and to other jazz drummers, like we've looked at jazz drummers before. Like he's not a gimmick to them. You know what I mean? When they hear him play, like our ears aren't trained to hear like the different technique that jazz drummers use, but like I've heard that when like jazz drummers hear him, they identify like what he has transcribed into his fingers, and they're like, oh, okay, like, and he has transcribed like a ton of really, really complex like timings and stuff, and it all works like that. And he dedicated his life to that instrument. Like I said, at first he started out on regular drums, and he just dedicated himself.
Yeah, what a commitment to make, like something that you made your own, and now you got to try to pass this off on the public, you know, and make it work, and be like proficient at it, be like the best you could be at it.
Yeah, and he works with like instrument makers too. Like he said, it's kind of led him back to, in a way, like that journey led him back to regular drums and rethinking regular drums. Like we always think of the bass drum as like a kick pedal instrument. But
he's
because
using it more as
he's used as an upright instrument, so he actually like ordered bass drums where it still has a kick pedal and the kick pedal goes to the bottom, but like he wants, just like his instruments layered and the cymbals layered with the snare, he wants the bass drum to be layered so you can go psh, boom, boom, like And I was talking about like harmonizing, not necessarily percussion, like being able to play higher notes, seeing the drum as a more piano-like instrument rather than a percussion instrument. That was his whole goal with his instrument.
Makes sense.
And he did a really good job with it. So
yeah.
And you can't tell either that he's just playing a different instrument. Like, it sounds like it's someone who's on a fucking... At times he's playing really fast, and you know, like, that can't be done with a... You can't hit with sticks as fast as you can do your fingers like this.
Yeah.
There's times where he goes off that way, but I didn't really hear... There was a few times where I could hear it was a MIDI sound, like a pre-recorded sound. But in general, I mean, his instrument has different tones, too. Like, he has snare as, like, a hard hit, snare as a medium strength, and snare as just a tap. That's all built into the instrument, so it's really cool.
Yeah, he had a box he was banging on at
It was
one
just
point.
a subwoofer. That's all it was.
Oh, okay.
It was like it was basically just a box, and he hits it with a little, you know, a drum stick, and it has like a hole, just like a subwoofer would have a hole to like make it louder.
I see.
So, and then he has obviously like African influences too, like with the music he was playing. Mm-hmm. And you know, the drumstick he was using was had those feather things on it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really cool.
Yeah, that was a cool part when he was like hitting the switch. That's what made it like. Not only was he playing all the instruments, but like hitting the switch
like at the right time.
Like, yeah. Okay, I've got to mention the I just would not show the crowd. I thought the crowd shots were totally distracting.
This guy's like dancing like, and then the guy with the L shirt, he's just like, he gets one scene where they just show him and he's just like, and it's like, why? Why did you do
I
this?
was like, just let me have the experience of watching this.
Yeah, or they're just sitting there just like
yeah.
Like they have the same expression we do. I don't need to see their like amazed expression like I see my own.
Right.
I never really understood that when it comes to like wrestling or sports or anything. Why they cut to the crowd? Just show me the
like I'm supposed to be
the action.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like setting up a mirror by your TV. It's like you watch it and then you look in the mirror for your reaction and then you watch back to your TV. It's like, why would you do that?
But it's one avenue. Like I haven't really, besides Victor Wooten and a couple of his albums, like I'd be interested to like dive into like Bela Fleck or whatever projects he's working on. It's not really, I just really haven't had the desire to dive down that way yet.
Yeah, I'd be interested in listening to more of his traditional bluegrass
stuff,
music. Yeah, maybe not with that other guy playing with him because that was weird. Like where they had the two people, he was like behind his back and like playing. Like that was super weird. His teacher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that already.
They were in public on the street doing that.
Yeah,
like that's really weird.
And the guy was really mad when he came out.
No, I think that was all
like
a joke, right? Yeah. Because they obviously had a permit to play there and all that stuff.
Yeah, I said Sesame Street, but what's the one with the animal? They would be like a dog, and then like they'd have somebody like reach around with hands and like.
I don't know.
It was a skit on a show, like where it'd be like an animal, and then somebody with people arms would come and like they'd manipulate stuff, and it's just funny, you know, like.
Divide the dough into 2 separate blobs. Dump out the dough on the table while it's still clumpy, and begin kneading it around. Now, place the dough in 2 lightly greased bread pans. Next, pat the dough down into the bread pans.
Yeah, but if I could like recommend a single album, there's one, I think it's called, and then there was 3. And that's when, so originally the Flecktones had a harmonica player instead of horns and stuff.
That's a Genesis album, and then there were 3. And then there were 3.
Okay, I thought I recognized it when you said that.
Yeah, his name was, I forget, who was, Howard Levy, I think his name was.
Oh, okay. But he's a part of the, you're saying this is the Bela Flecktones?
Yeah, this, like, they had different, like, when Howard Levy left and then Jeff Coffin came in to replace him. And then, but they used to have the same kind of style, but with this jazz bluegrass thing, but with a harmonica as the like were the horns in their production albums. And then,
is it called 3 Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
That was the one. Yeah, 3 Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there were 3 where was a Genesis album.
Yeah, because there were obviously like 4, and then Howard Levy left. Yeah, and then the next one was
Based
I
off of
think,
a great
like,
movie.
like Left of Cool or South of Cool, and that was
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Great book too.
Yeah.
But I think the movie is better than the book. Would you agree? Have you read the book?
Maybe if I read the book first, I would feel
Oh,
differently.
I read it in school. It was a part of like
Yeah.
learning whatever.
Well, I think we were supposed to. I just didn't read.
Yeah,
the books we were supposed
sure.
to.
I would read a little bit of it and then go on Spark Notes and get the rest.
Yeah, but yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. So
It's great.
Certainly.
all right.
What about the last song, the encore?
It was fun. It was funny.
It was fun.
Is that called the Hoedown? Is that what they were doing?
No, Hoedown was the one before that. That's Hoedown.
I kept on thinking of what's the sketch comedy show with Drew Carey. They at the end they do a Hoedown.
Whose line is it?
Whose line is it anyway?
But yeah.
He's got the part right at the end of the song where he says something like, I don't know what rhymes with banjo.
Oh yeah.
It was it reminded me of Sturgill Simpson. What the hell rhymes with Bronco?
Yeah. What's with these B words and nothing rhymes with them?
I don't know.
I don't know, but when I brought that up before, and you said you immediately came up with what you said rhymed.
What, Bronco?
Yeah, pronto or I don't know. You said you're like, I got it. I figured it. Toronto.
Yeah.
Bronco Toronto. The Toronto Broncos.
It's the next big team. That's some best boys.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of parts that was different listening to an entire hour and a half show. So there was parts that I thought were amazing, like the Amazing Grace, and the next song right after that.
Yeah,
which was
I don't know what song was after that, but that was like for me that was
pinnacle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely like the way, like I said before, it was sequenced because it had that arpeggio. What's the word I'm looking for? God, when something comes to a head, like crescendo. I'm all fucked up because this bass learning shit it's just ruining me. Yeah, but
arpeggio.
I thought like as a whole, like it came to that crescendo at the end, like totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy with the Amazing Grace. Like Amazing Grace is like a simple song, but he makes it so complicated with all the stuff he's doing with the bass.
Yeah,
like it's just to show like
it's
something that is simple that can be difficult if you put in different elements. And
yeah, he's just like his mastery of the bass is just like unreal, and that's why like I went to him and I bought one of his jazz records with a couple other artists. Famous jazz artists, because I just know like anyone he associates with
are
like,
probably
it's going to be a good record
with him, like on the same level.
Yeah, and that's one we'll do soon. I don't know if it'll be my next one because we already did, an off-style record, but we'll see what happens. It's a good record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it made me think of like Yanni or something. I mean, like it's probably difficult to get these guys to play like more like mainstream music because they're like a different level, like an attraction. I feel like they play like,
and there's a
shows.
fan base for this type of music,
right?
Where people there's some people that don't like traditional music. They don't like the chorus, your typical song,
right?
When they go into this type of music, jazz music. Like I know like a lot of people that are like jazz fans, and I just don't see. I just feel like we're like on a different wavelength. Like people that love jazz music and people that love contemporary music are just like on two different wavelengths. Like it's a different conversation going on. It's a different language.
I thought this was interesting though because you have the jazz element in this one, but then you have a song like Hoedown, which is just a country ass. Like everyone knows that. Like it's familiar right away.
Yeah.
There was like 2 or 3 songs where like it's banjo led that are familiar right away, and then they can infuse it. And I just think, I don't know, like it's to me like a lot of jazz music seems like it's intentionally skips the notes that you want to hear. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's avoiding
I
all the
definitely-
notes
yes.
that it's avoiding the established notes and trying to make music out of that.
That was like the chaos
Yeah.
thing I was saying before. That's what it sounded like to me. Like you know what I mean? Like that's what gave it that element.
And I think what makes like in this like where they have those jazz kind of like offshoot moments, I don't dislike it at all because it's interesting. Like I said, the jazz is that conversational type music, like as if you're speaking to someone. But then I think just in time and a lot of those weird solos, they hit that note, like that page that everyone else is on. Like they keep you in it by like really quickly going back into that traditional style and then go back into their jazz and then hit you again with the traditional really quick. It's kind of like it recenters you. That's what I think it is about jazz. You can lose your center. I don't think that it's wrong. I just think you have to have the center for that. And when you recenter it on something that's familiar, you can give that music context, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's similar to like a crazy guitar solo. Like you'll have like Zeppelin, like you'll have some crazy guitar solo, and then it gets you right back into the groove.
The groove comes.
Like Dazed and Confused is a perfect example. Like they have the nuts drumming and the guitar solo, and then it gets you right back into like the like what you heard.
And then you realize that they were on time and
mode
the whole time.
Well,
It's your ear that's got.
Because you're picking up all these different guitar and drums and different patterns and but it all mixes. It all blends.
Yep.
In some type of way.
All right. Overall thoughts. Were you a fan or like pass?
No, definitely a fan.
Okay,
definitely
cool.
a fan. It's very impressive stuff.
People give me the weirdest looks when I'm playing that at work because I will blast that at work.
Because again, it's not traditional.
Well,
it's not.
Well, yeah. Like to me, like this is the kind of stuff like you've got to like experience. Like you can't. I don't know. Like, jumping into the middle of a song is definitely not the same as like experiencing the whole thing. Like that, you know. Like you're ramped up to a certain point by the time they get to a solo, as opposed to like you just.
Yeah, people say that all the time, like at work, like the salesman will walk across the floor to see how something's going. And I remember Sal was telling me, my old boss, telling me like, these guys come by and they say, "What the hell is Jake listening to?" I hear country one time, hip hop, then I hear like blues and jazz, and I'm like, well, get used to it.
I think that's a good thing, though. I think that people are like, I only like hip hop or I only like rock and roll. It's very close minded. I think we should have a broader.
When I first got into music, I was just a metal guy. Like if it wasn't metal, then I didn't listen to it. And
I've always been pretty.
That's not the case now.
I've always been pretty broad. I mean, classic rock is kind of what I came up on, but then I kind of branched out into hip hop and then to a little bit of metal. I can't say I'm like a huge metal fan, but like a little bit. Yeah. I feel like life is better when you have more options. Mm-hmm. Like that's like my record collection. Like that's why I have like Daft Punk and country and rock and hip hop, and because I never know what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah, there's a place for all of it.
There's a place, yeah, exactly. Metal, yeah.
Yeah, it can be irritating. That kind of I don't know. Again, I relate to it. I relate to it, like you said. I used to like not like certain genres and stuff, but yeah,
country music. Like I could never.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to country.
Dude, that's the number one.
To me, that's the number one also.
Well, it's the number one that for me that people say like.
Yeah, like it's the new thing.
I hate country. Now. Yeah,
like I feel like 10 years ago it was hip hop. Like I didn't listen to that shit, and now it's country. People are shitting on. It's like, well, if you only listen to the radio, like their whole goal is to give you something familiar.
Well, even with hip hop, if you just listen to the radio,
right? It's like if you don't make an effort. You're not going to find anything worthwhile. You know what I mean? So
once you take a deep dive into music, that's when you can really appreciate it. And I feel like now you have to take a deeper dive into music to find good stuff, because there's just not a lot of good stuff being played on the radio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like back then, like in the 70s and the 80s.
I wish I was alive back then.
I know.
Because they would. I guess back then they would have channels where you'd have classic rock, and the next thing was like a B.B. King song. Like they had that kind of variety.
Because the DJs had the choice of playing whatever they wanted to play. Now it's all iHeart Music, and you have to play. It's all contracted songs. You have to play this song 20 times a day. Back then it was like, okay, I just discovered this band called The Doors. I discovered The Doors. We're gonna play this. Mm-hmm. and they would just play it.
And you were trusted, like, as the DJ.
Yeah, because he knew about music, and yeah, exactly. And that's how he would introduce an audience. I mean, they had payola and stuff like that, where bands would pay the DJs to play their music. But I think it's I just.
But that was like a scandal, right? Like.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was.
Like they weren't supposed to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. I guess college radio still can play.
Yeah.
Like like ever listen to like the Baldwin Wall station or like
like 90.7 or something.
Yeah, it's like all the way at the end of the dial.
Yeah.
Like, but it's I mean, they in the summers they do like a thing where they just play like one band like all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll just do like Dave Matthews Band like all day.
They'll like explore the discography of
band.
Yeah,
and just do deep
cool.
cuts that you've never heard.
Uh-huh.
Like that to me that's really cool because then you're introducing an audience to new music. You're not introducing the same fucking Taylor Swift song every 20 minutes. Like, okay, we just heard this song 20 minutes ago. Like, why do I need to listen to it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Bela Fleck is an amazing leader. Like I actually watched another interview of Jeff Coffin when he was like when Dave Matthews Band saxophone player died. And like you gotta understand, like they're releasing this kind of shit. Like Jeff Coffin's like a staple in this band at this point. Like they've released 2 albums, and I guess Bela Fleck was like they're gonna ask you to stay. You're like, right? And he said, I think you should join their band.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like he's almost underrated in a way. Like he is the mastermind with this music style that he's a master of. Like it's seen as like the simple-minded, one-track kind of music, and to bring all these people together, like it just says a lot about like who he is as a person and like his mind state as far as music is concerned. Like it's just fucking amazing, because without him, nothing would have never
without
happened.
the initial idea of let's bring this guy and this pan drum guy and this throat singer and this drum like who thinks that like, okay, this is all gonna work.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of those artists were like that. Like Victor Wooten, another interview, because I like watch interviews. Mm-hmm. He said it's like he remembers like growing up, like watching Sesame Street, and like what was on Sesame Street, and he, like what did they teach you at Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other. And he said like as a kid he used to think like, well, why doesn't this thing belong? Like 2 round things and a square thing. And he says like no wonder there's so much like injustice in the world. It's because like we're taught from an early age to like. See things as though they don't belong. You know what I mean? So it's you have to have that. All the musicians must have those mindset, because like if you were a hardcore country guy, you wouldn't be associated with no jazz musician. For sure you wouldn't, because you don't know how, first of all. But
hip hop does that a little bit. Like they'll influence like some of my favorite hip hop is where they influence jazz.
Oh yeah, there's jazz and Eastern flutes and all this kind of thing for sure. Yeah.
So they do it a little bit, but like country music just pretty much stays. They don't really go outside the box, or
which is a shame, because it works. Like it works in so many different contexts. But so I'm glad I've had the chance. I discovered this on a random whim, but I'm blessed to have discovered it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, I've never. The only thing I can compare this to is like Yanni, as far as like something I've seen live. Joe Bonamassa was good, but this was different because there was just so many freaking musicians. I mean, he had a band with him, but it wasn't anything like this. So, all right, well, not a record night. Number one, I certainly have a few ideas for this. Joe, is there anything you kind of have? There's nothing really you can think of, not on vinyl.
Not really, and like I got rid of a lot of like my CD collection and stuff, and I don't have a TV, so I don't have like DVDs and stuff. So
I
don't know. I mean, I'll think about it, but I don't know.
I just purchased a record recently that I actually like. When we thought about doing this, I'm like, oh, this is a record I want to do, but they pressed it onto vinyl, so
nice.
Not to worry.
I mean, that's the preferred way for me too.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah, but this was just one that I kind of had a hunch like it's never gonna make its way. They're kind of, I don't want to say the band is dead. They're still making music. Victor Wooten still, but they kind of disbanded and they all went their own way. And I think if a band like really is like important to you and touches you, then it's like a good candidate for like this kind of setting, this digital setting. Like if you feel like, because I feel like your guys is like like landscape of music, like I feel like it's expanded that landscape. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's why I chose it. I couldn't let it go.
I got you.
Like it's not an option to let it not be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it opens up doors to do more jazz type music and more maybe music without vocals, and it opens up those doors. So that's good that you brought this.
Yeah, well, and we mentioned it a few times, but the visual element, being able to see the guys play, like
that was cool.
Yeah, like the band. I mean, all of them, but like the banjo in particular, it's like incomprehensible.
How fast his fingers move.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
But so yeah, it was good. All right, I guess that's it. I could keep going. So
yeah, I'm satisfied.
Yeah,
another successful, not a record night.
Well, this was the first
one,
so that doesn't make any sense.
Not enough.
Yes, right between the sound machine. On the cloud of sound, I drift in the night. Any place it goes is right. Goes far, flies near, to the stars away from here. Well, you don't know what we can find. Why don't you come with me, little girl, on a magic carpet ride?
Jake makes me so fucking mad.